broadcasting on the DVC to all points unknown. If you're within the sound of my voice, you're listening to Welcome Home Podcast on the DVC.
Hello and welcome home. Thank you for joining us on episode 46 of Welcome Home, a Disney Parks and Vacation Club podcast. I'm Tom. I'm here with Trevor, and we have special guests today, too. We've got Derek DeBoer and Marissa Vallotton. Did I get it right, Mr. Vallotton? Oh my gosh, yes. I was so nervous about that.
But you picked it up in the end.
Man, I thought I was going to fail so bad on that. So
Mine
we got
was
Derek.
Perfect.
Yeah, yours is easy, Derek. So, we have them here today. We got Trevor. How was everybody's holidays? Everybody have a good one?
Yeah, wonderful.
Yeah.
Fantastic. I spent New Year's Eve for 4 nights at Disney's Vero Beach Resort, so it couldn't have been better. Weather was perfect.
Wow.
Beach was awesome. Pretty great.
That's really great. I've never gone to Vero Beach, but I've always wanted to check that resort out. I've heard it's really nice.
Once you go once, I can tell you, the addiction will start, and you will want to go again and again and again.
Nice. I'll have to do that one of these times. We actually, this is weird for us because we've been podcasting for almost 2 years, and we took the first break we've ever taken over the past couple. We skipped an episode, which we never do. And we have the most wonderful listeners in the world who were super, super understanding, and that we heard from anyway. There could be some people cursing us behind our backs for not for not having an episode on, but we're back. And not only are we back, we're so excited to have Derek and Marissa here because some big news just came out today. Today, yes, when you guys are listening to this, and they're the perfect guests to have on for this big news. And maybe I'm not the best person to explain what's going on, so maybe one of you guys wants to get into the changes with DVC Resale that were just announced.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, it was a big day here at the DVC Resale Market.
You guys been a little busy today?
We have some big news that I know by now a lot of your listeners already know about. So, Marissa, why don't you do it so eloquently to kick us off?
Sure. So Disney is, as many people know, done a couple different waves of restrictions on resale purchases. So this is the biggest restriction that they've come up with at this point. And it's a little bit tricky to understand in full. And so far, we've had quite a few questions on it. The great thing is we posted a really fantastic blog on our site. So if you head to our site, DVC Resale Market, I think we can post the blog link for you all. But this is going to be the most helpful and educational thing you can read on this process. But basically what happened was Disney, basically, if you think about it, they kind of declared the original 14 resorts as the classic resorts. So as a DVC member, as long as you purchase before January 19th, you're grandfathered in. Now, after January 19th is when the changes come. So we'll kind of talk about that first, and then we'll talk about the purchasing process if you still want to do that. But basically, anybody who purchases after January 19th, 2019, they will only be able to use their Disney Vacation Club points on the 14 classic resorts. So the new resorts like Riviera that are coming out, you would not be able to use your points on any new resorts. Now, the other thing is, once new resorts come out, such as Riviera, if anybody wants to sell those in the future, so let's say you purchase a new Riviera resort directly from Disney and you decide, you know what, I'm ready to sell my membership. As a resale, only Riviera can be used at Riviera. So that's going to be a major change, and we're going to kind of see that trickle, probably not anytime soon, probably about 10 years from now, we'll really start to see the full effects of what that will do as Disney continues to build new resorts. To be honest, in terms of resale changing, we're not going to see major changes until we start to hit some of those expirations of 2042 and some of those new resorts built out. But that's the biggest change. Now, one of the biggest questions we've had, and literally we've been bombarded today with people wanting to buy contracts as soon as possible. How do we get those in? Does it have to pass through right of first refusal first? No. So what happens is, as long as we can get agreed upon sales contract, so both buyer and seller need to agree on a price and sign an initial sales contract, which our team is excellent at, and we have a really good turnover time, and we are all working overtime, so believe me, we'll be there for you. But as long as we can get that submitted before that deadline. Now, Disney's deadline is January 19th. We personally are giving everyone the deadline of Wednesday, which will be, let me pull up the calendar here. So Wednesday will be the 16th. So ideally, we'd like to have all contracts submitted to Disney on the 16th just to be safe and make sure they're in on time. But as long as we submit them to Disney, whether or not Disney starts to look at them through right of first refusal or not, as long as they're submitted, then we're good to go on the grandfathering process. So it doesn't have to close within that time frame.
That's a great breakdown of that, and I'm sure there's going to be a lot of questions around that. I know. So I've got a question just to start us off here too, unless there's more that you want to say about that before we start questioning you. So do you think this is going to see a short-term spike in resale prices now? I mean, is that something you guys expect over the next 2 weeks here?
Yeah. So when this happened, something similar happened in 2011 when they did the collection restrictions. And although we weren't in business at the time, some of the resale companies sold out of every single contract they had.
Those other places.
I think so far today we sold 56 contracts today.
Oh my goodness.
And that's just without an official announcement. So starting Monday on the 7th, when Disney does the official announcement, which I think is when this will air, we'll likely sell out a huge majority of our inventory over the next 10 days.
So, Trevor, I know you had some questions here.
Yeah,
as someone who's in the market for resale.
So, I guess, so just so I'm clear on this, so like, for example, I have 100 points at Polynesian right now. If I wanted to expand on that, so buy additional points, same user and all that, I could end up in a position where I can only use some of my points at the newer resorts, and then the rest I can't use, right? Like there's no way to transfer or to work around that, is what I'm hearing.
No, I think maybe what it sounds like your question is, so let's say someone, and we've had a lot of these folks have very similar questions to you today, saying, okay, well, I own 100 points at the Polynesian. So let's say if I buy 100 points more at the Polynesian before the deadline, there's no difference, right? So if it passes right of first refusal, it goes into your account. You could use them for all the future resorts. No problem, no question whatsoever. Then there's folks that say, well, what happens if, I wait till February and I still want to buy 100 points. I still want to buy them in my same use year. So I can still use them for all the Disney Vacation Club resorts, right? Like Marissa said, the classics. Yeah, all that is exactly the same. But like Marissa said, the big difference is after that deadline of January 19th, you're not going to be able to use resale points for any future Disney Vacation Club resorts. So far there's two on the horizon. There's Riviera, and then there's also Reflections, which again, these are years away. But any points purchased after that January 19th deadline, again, they are good for what we like to say, the best of the best, the original 14, because the locations cannot be beat around the monorail resort and next to Epcot. So fantastic resorts. But anything in the future, you will not be able to use resale points for those, which is interesting because I think a lot of people, when they first hear it, and we've talked to a ton of folks today, at first they're kind of like, wow, that's oh man. But then once they think about it and then they realize and say, well, I know how I use my membership now, and B, I think, how I'm going to use my membership in the future is, honestly, for a lot of folks, those 14, those are the ones that they love the most. And they say, Derek, I've had my membership for 10 to 15 years and we've only stayed at 3 of them so far. So we got like 11 more to use over the life of the membership. So that's where it comes down. And that's what we kind of put the urgency on folks to saying, listen, if you're kicking around the idea, why not do it sooner rather than later? I talked to so many folks today that said, we were thinking about buying in February, we were thinking about buying in March, but you know what? We're just going to do it now because we don't want to miss out. So just in case we want to use those points at the Riviera or Reflections, by all means, like Marissa said, there has never been more urgency to get that membership started than with us. So be sure to visit our site, dvcresalemarket.com, as soon as possible.
Well, I think you guys will be hearing from me fairly quickly in that case.
Oh, look, I just got an email from Trevor.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Weird, huh?
Trevor just put in an offer. You just right now, this very moment.
Yeah.
Amazing.
No, I didn't actually, but yes, it'll be very soon. Yeah. So I guess so I understand that with the like if you have 2 different contracts, but I was also thinking about like because you know how you can transfer points between contracts, correct? So like let's say you have, and I know you may not be able to answer this right away, or it may not be clear yet how it's going to work, but so let's say you have a direct bought contract or one that's grandfathered in, and then you go to someone and say, hey, I want to transfer some points from another member to my contract, so I have a larger, for that that one-time transfer that you can do.
Mm-hmm.
does the same thing still apply with that? Like they'll still look at it as going, you still have this many points grandfathered and then this many points that you can't use for something like Riviera?
So I know the reverse is true. So for example, let's say there's a resale member who purchased after 2011 and they want to take their points and transfer it to somebody to use for a cruise. They wouldn't be able to take those points and use them within the Disney collection for a cruise because they owned resale points. Now, the reverse is what I'm not 100% sure on. Derek, I don't know if you know this. I don't know if there is somebody who maybe bought direct and wants to transfer to a resale member who doesn't have access to like the cruise collection. I still think it would be blocked at that point as well. So I think either way with transfer, I think it'll be blocked if you're trying to go from one direction to another.
Yeah, and it's a great question too, because I think like a lot of things, especially when news comes out, we're going to get information because you're going to have great questions like that are going to start to trickle in. And that's why our site will always be a great place for folks to go, to reach out to myself, to reach out to Marissa, any of the great agents here. So we could say, hey, you know what? I heard a great question. Was there an answer for that one? Or I was still wondering about this. So by all means, we encourage it because this is kind of an ongoing, I think, process. So questions are going to come up because there's never been anything quite so drastic like this. So I think there's going to be questions throughout the whole entire time, definitely over the next couple of days for sure.
Right. And actually, when Disney did their resale restrictions in 2016, I think they changed the policy before they actually like confirmed on everything with like timelines and deadlines and how the points would use. I think they changed it about 4 times till they finalized on it after they made the announcement. So what we're saying now is what is going to happen. We don't know if that will change within now till January 19th.
Oh, okay. All right. Then I'll just keep checking your website every day.
Yeah, and you know it's interesting. We got a lot of questions about this too. You know, right when this started trickling out here, and there were some people. And Trevor, I don't know if you wanted to ask anything else. I'm sorry if I interrupted your question.
No. Go ahead. I know we have a ton of users that want their questions asked.
Oh my gosh,
so.
we have so many.
Yeah.
You guys are so popular that every time we have you on, our listeners ask us an insane amount of questions to ask you. So
hey, and I just need to throw this out there that you truly have such a fantastic audience that Marissa and we always multiple times a day that I will literally take screenshots of our chat boards. So because we have a great live chat feature. So for folks that can't talk on the phone or don't want to email, they can always click on the right hand screen of our website. So when you log on to dvcresalemarket.com, it'll say chat with us. So you chat on it. So I'll be talking to people and then I'll say, hey, I'm Derek and blah, blah, blah. And I can't tell you how many times Marissa and I hear, hey, are you the Derek that was on the Welcome Home podcast? I listened to that. I'm not joking. I will always take a screenshot of it and then I'll send it to Nick and then I'll send it to Marissa and I go, I love these guys. They have like the best, smartest audience in the world.
That's I just thought it was us being biased and just loving our fans, but they just are the best. I mean,
yeah,
they're just so great. I totally agree with that. So that's
They're
great
awesome.
to hear that you guys hear from them too, and it's great. So
We love it.
That makes me happy. So we got some great questions. So we saw and this was actually not on our Facebook page, but this was on a different Facebook page. So a listener named Paul asked, how do you think this will affect resale prices in both the short and long term? Do you speculate that Riviera resale is going to cost less, because of the restrictions on this? You think it'll cost more? How do you think that's going to be? And this person also asked if they're thinking of selling, should they do it right now? Is this the time to do it? I know I just asked you 3 questions, but I think they're all related. So
Yeah, sure. So I think
yes, and yes.
Yeah, if someone's looking to sell, get started right away. Again, if you want to reach out to us, you can send us an email, Derek@dvcresalemarket.com, Marissa@dvcresalemarket.com. Just mention welcome home and we'll know you're from the podcast. So whether you're sending an email or putting an offer in, just use one of our names and say welcome home. We'll know where you came from. But for selling, if you're thinking about selling, do it now. Not only is this prime time of year, but we have so many buyers at the moment that if you're looking to sell quick, this is by far the smartest time. But the process to sell does take a couple days, so we do need to have that process started as soon as possible. So if you're thinking about it, buying or selling, don't wait. Just get it done as soon as you can. Now, when it comes to prices for the future, it's really hard to know how the market's going to shift and change with this. It's likely once we hit that January 19th deadline that we'll see sales dip a little bit and we'll possibly see prices dip. And by dip, I don't see anything major, maybe 5 to 10% drop down in overall prices. But another thing is, once Disney does this, they're doing a major price increase on all their sold out inventory.
Yeah.
I mean, we've heard rumors to the mid or possibly high $200 per point for some of these resorts. So that's also, it's hard to really calculate what kind of effect that's going to have as well for future resale value. And I think, like Derek was saying, with the classics, they are prime locations. So no matter what, if you're buying a Bay Lake Tower, if you're buying a Polynesian, if you're buying an Old Key West, you're still getting into those 14 prime DVC resorts. Now, where the real question mark lies is going to be Riviera.
Yeah.
Because when that goes to resale market, you can use it at Riviera and nowhere else. And if you think about it, if you can only use it at Riviera, you really have to utilize that 11-month priority. Otherwise, it's 7 months. Since you can only book Riviera, you risk everybody wanting to book this brand new resort, and you may not get anything out of it. So because of that, we do see that it's likely going to dip quite drastically on Riviera or the new locations once they hit the resale market.
Yeah, and that's where, Marissa touched on it perfectly too, is that's what's so great about your audience, guys, is that, they're educated and they're smart. So when they look at this and say they're going to look at Disney Vacation Club for the first time, and say down the road the only offering that they have is the Riviera, right? First thing a lot of folks do is say, okay, well, that's a nice place, but they're going to go and they're going to Google, or they maybe heard about it on your show, or they look us up and they see us on the website, and then they say, well, wait a second. So if I'm buying the Riviera, say for who knows what it's going to be, but let's just say $200 per point. And then down the road, like a lot of folks do, you never buy it to predict that you have to sell it, but that's what makes DVC so great, is that you can purchase it, use it, and then for whatever reason down the road, if you do need to unload it, you have that knowledge knowing that, wow, there's a great market, right? There's a great market for me to resell my Bay Lake Tower, my Polynesian, my Boardwalk, because there's such a great audience and such a great love for those resorts. But then when they start doing research and say, wait a second, so if I'm buying the Riviera direct from Disney, and if for whatever reason I need to or want to sell it, who's ever going to buy it can only use it at the Riviera. So that's when folks say, well, wait a second, why don't I look at resale? Because the resorts I want to stay at, the ones that I love, the ones that I know that I've been told I can book at 7 months out, and we all know how easy it is to say get into the beach club or the boardwalk during the Food and Wine Festival. They might say, hey, you know what? I'm going to look at resale because these are the 14 resorts. These are the, again, the number one rule of real estate is 3 things, right? Location, location, location. So for owners to know that they could book, say, their favorite resort, right? Whether it's on that monorail loop, the Polynesian, the Grand, Bay Lake Tower, or maybe it's Boardwalk or Beach Club, with everything coming to, Epcot and everything coming to the studios, they can look knowing that they have that knowledge. Then they also can feel good that, you know what? I didn't have to spend double that to purchase a resort that if I needed to down the road, if I needed to sell it, I might not financially come out okay, because we all know DVC is not an investment. Right? But if I'm spending a good chunk of money, I'd kind of like to know what my exit strategy is. And that's why folks love working with us, because they know, hey, you know what? I could use it. And if I need to sell it down the road, there's a tremendous audience for it. And odds are I'm probably going to get what I put into it, plus maybe something else. So that's what works out great.
We got your offer, Trevor.
Just
for real.
That's what she was showing me on the phone.
I was wondering if you were going to say something about this. As we were talking here, I've been talking with my wife, and yeah, we agreed we were going to put in an offer.
I swear to you, I thought Marissa was just kidding right there.
I totally did too. I'm literally talking to you, and she's shoving her phone into my face, and I can't read it. And I'm like, not right now.
And Derek's so passionate when he's talking, his hands are moving,
guys.
knocking the phone out of my face.
My hands are moving, microphone's falling out of my ear. But did Trevor follow the rules, though? Did he say welcome home?
He put welcome home.
Oh,
Did he?
boom.
Oh, he did. That's good.
Yeah.
I don't think I did when I bought.
Forgot about us.
I think I might have forgot about that. That's funny. Is it the same use here, Trevor, or is it? Because I'm
Yep.
surprised you found a contract that quick.
There's actually been a few out for my used year. So I've been looking for a while, like I've said on the podcast. I've been using your guys' app, and I've been keeping an eye on this for a while. And my wife and I earlier kind of decided on one that we wanted. So there
And
you
you,
go.
Trevor, honestly, you found probably the best 3,000-point contract that we have.
I can't wait to be there for 6 months.
Trevor and I have all that podcast money, so we could just buy.
Or 2 weeks in a bungalow.
Yeah.
There you go.
Exactly.
Yeah, especially with the points going down for the bungalows in 2020, you're in good shape, man.
Ooh, that's tempting.
All right. Well, we got a lot of questions. I don't know,
Yep.
Trevor, if you want to ask some of the ones on this list here we got, but I definitely have a lot. But
Well,
one more question real quick. Do you guys think that Riviera is going to sell at 200, or you think it's going to be lower because of these restrictions just off the bat, like the direct price?
You know what? Marissa and I were just talking about this even with Nick earlier, that from what we think, and again, it's, the rumor mill. It's, because both Marissa and I worked at DVC for years and years and years, so we have a lot of friends. And so we hear things from someone, or someone said something to someone. So it seems to be like the most current rumor is that, it's going to be probably somewhere around there. So somewhere maybe around the 200 per point. But obviously there's going to be discounts, purchase incentives and whatnot. But I think the most interesting thing that I heard was that perhaps that the Riviera, while the point costs might be high per point, that the point chart might be pretty low. Right. So, if I'm going to buy 200 points, maybe the studios are going to be less than, say, something that's on the monorail resort. So, again, that's not confirmed at all. But I found
we like rumors here. We like reckless speculation, Derek. It's okay.
Oh,
Yes.
We in fact have a segment called Reckless Speculation, so we're okay with it. We're cool.
Perfect. Then where do you hear this one? No.
Can we call this the Star Wars Premium?
It's called the Gondola Premium. That's what it is.
Instead of the monorail premium, it's the gondola / Star Wars Premium.
The Gondola Premium, and make sure you get on that gondola, not when it's going to rain in Florida, because who knows how those things are going to work when lightning comes out. So.
Well, there's no air conditioning either.
And there's no air conditioning, so
That's going to be okay.
Yeah.
Sign me up for $200 a point for that. Sounds
Yeah, I'm
good.
sure it'll be fine. And yeah, I guess I never even thought about that as, I guess the actual point value for the, like, a studio could make it more competitive than any of the monorail loop.
I just saw some pictures of it the other day. I can't remember online, and someone was taking some pictures of it. And every time I look at it, I go, "Man, it's huge." I mean, it is big. It is a big, big resort.
I thought I heard that they were only having 300 units there or something like that, and I felt like that was small for DVC. I could be wrong though. I don't know. But
I think Bay or Beach Club and Grand Floridian both have like something in the 100s.
Yeah.
So 300
okay.
is pretty decent size.
Okay. Not compared to like an old Key West or a Saratoga, but
Right. Yeah. Still smaller than that. Maybe more like a Bay Lake or a Poly.
Okay.
Yeah, I was going to say also considering its location too, that is a high concentration of rooms, right?
Right. Yeah. Yeah, especially with Beach Club and Boardwalk being the comparison nearby.
Yeah. Well, that might mean we can get into Beach Club and Boardwalk a little easier too. I didn't even think about that.
Well, yeah, it's almost like I feel like other DVC members should feel like this is a little bit of maybe a little bit of a positive. Maybe it's going to free up some availability elsewhere. I don't know, but I don't know if it is or not. I mean, I guess we'll have to see, right?
Well, it's a lot of folks have that mindset, like when there's a new attraction. Oh my God, Toy Story Land opened, so now the rides at Animal Kingdom, the Pandora lines dipped down by 15 minutes because everyone ran over to try Toy Story. And so Star Wars is going to come and it's going to suck everybody up. So that's it's a new resort. We've seen it, and I've been a member since 1999, and it's always that mindset when there's a new resort. It's human nature that folks, I just want to try it out. But I think anyone will tell you that these original 14 that you have with us are definitely going to be the ones that folks are going to always want to stay at. And again, that's where research, again, is key. And that's what Marissa and I love to talk to folks, and why we love what we get to do, because we don't just have to sell folks whatever the current product is, right? Okay, well, this is Copper Creek, and this is your choice, and this is why you should buy it. Well, I really want to stay at the Beach Club because that's my favorite. Okay, well, sure, you can use your points at 7 months out, or, well, yeah, but can I buy the Beach Club? And so, well, that's a little bit of a different scenario. For us, we're just flat out. We love to be able to tell folks and say, what's your favorite? Do you have a favorite? If it's your favorite, you need to buy that resort, because some are harder to get into than others. We all know that. If you don't have a favorite, I always love to tell folks, hey, if you don't have a favorite and you're not going to book more than 7 months out, then just buy Saratoga Springs, flat out. Most economical resort you can buy.
Yeah, that makes total sense. Trevor,
Yeah,
did you have a question?
Actually, I was looking through. I know we've got them all in order here, but I really wanted to ask Gregory B's question, because I just think it's amusing.
This literally made me laugh out loud. So I think we need to. and Gregory is he's a frequent contributor. He's funny.
Yeah. So Gregory wanted to ask you guys. He says his current contract is only in his name. He's wondering if he should change it to include his wife prior to adding on to his contract, or if and then also should I add on and title in my name only, or change it to both in the future? So he's asking, like, he's looking to add on, but because of the way the contract is set up right now, should he go and do those changes first? And then the last question you ask is, should he just divorce and not worry about it? So,
Right. I mean, that may be the easiest.
That'd be the easiest, the easiest thing to do, right?
I think in a different circumstance, he could have go ahead and redeed and add his wife and then add on. Honestly, with what's going on right now, add on now. If you're going the resale route, do it now. So, and the process of changing the name, now we work with fantastic title companies. So if he's purchasing and adding on, what we'll do is we'll match his original contract if he's buying like the same use year, so that everything matches and blends together. Once he closes on that, we can use the same title company to quit claim and just add his wife on. So it's pretty simple. And since he already has the contact with the title company, it's not a hard change after that.
Or by that point, it might even be his new girlfriend.
Yeah,
right?
there we go.
Yeah.
There you go. Yeah, it might just be easier to do it that way. Yeah.
I mean, if he's considering the latter, then
She can be an associate member.
That's funny. So I see another one here, and I feel like we answered this already. Oh, wait. So this person asked, and this is a kind of a confusing question, but I think it's a good one. What if I bought Copper Creek Direct, and this is Roxanne asked this, Copper Creek Direct after 119, and then go sell it? Would the new owner be able to book only the 14 original and not the new DVCs? Will that affect my resale value on Copper Creek? So I think what she's asking is, do we feel like this is going to affect the resale value on all contracts after 119 because now they don't have access to the new resorts?
yeah. So I think that we'll see in the short term. I think we will see a small dip. Because they will, with her Copper Creek, if she were to resell it, it only has access to the 14 resorts if she resells it after January 19th, not the new ones. However, it's really hard to compensate because Disney is scheduled to do some pretty drastic increases on sold out. So, and they're doing an increase on Copper Creek as well. So Copper Creek hasn't even hit the sold out stage, so it's hard to even have an idea on what the value is going to be once it officially sells out, because that's truly when we start to see the value of demand and where Disney goes with their sold out price increases. But again, not that we have anything confirmed, but there's rumors that Beach Club is now going to be sold in the mid $200 per point, which is kind of crazy thinking that it only has 23 years left on it.
But it doesn't have a lot of years left.
Itself.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Right. So if you think the value is going up to the mid $200 per point, the resale value, if you're paying our average price of $140 per point, I don't see that dipping any drastically, because you can still use the 14 resorts. And it's sure a lot better than paying around $200 per point when your whole goal is to stay at Beach Club.
Mm-hmm.
It's interesting because I was thinking about this earlier, and you're kind of confirming my thought process on this. It's like the prices you guys have now are based on access to 14 resorts.
Yeah.
And that's not going to change. You're still going to have access to 14 resorts, right?
Right.
So why would the price change that much? Because all you're doing is talking about the future. For me, it's like, okay, well, the price is this now because I have access to 14 resorts. Well, there's going to be 16 in the future, but I still have I'm still buying at the same price that I did, which when it had access to 14 resorts. I don't know if that thinking makes any sense, but it does in my head.
Right, and that's why we feel with the resale, until we start to see a lot of resale contracts from the new resorts, the Riviera Resort and all of the new contracts hit the resale, we won't really, I don't think, notice a drastic change.
Okay, that's great. That makes total sense. I think that was a great question. Trevor, you want to do one?
Yeah. So I guess let's change gears a little bit here. And actually, this question is kind of interesting now based on this new information. So Tom D is asking, what do you anticipate happening with annual dues over the next 5 to 10 years? Are they likely to maintain the same increase this year over the next several years? So I guess the thinking is there was a big jump this year. Do you guys see that trend is going to continue? But I guess with also the way things are changing, like how they're kind of splitting up the resorts, do you think that might have an effect on it as well? I guess I'm kind of adding on to his question. So
No,
That's okay,
yeah.
Trevor. It's our show. We get to do what we want.
yeah, exactly.
Right. Yeah, it's definitely one of those questions that always comes up, and especially, obviously it's been a very busy last couple of weeks with Disney Vacation Club, with the new dues coming out, and now with this announcement and everything else. I would say with the dues, and again, you could visit our site because we've done a great blog, and you could see exactly how much the dues have gone up, and really most importantly the rationale behind it, which I think a lot of folks already know because your audience is smart, is a lot of it is because the hourly wage went up, right? So every resort pretty much went up because the hourly wage had to increase, which again, a lot of folks say, you know what, that's a good thing because I want happy cast members, right? I don't want disgruntled cast members. I want,
Absolutely.
we always tell folks
Agreed,
too, you know, when it comes to the dues, always keep in mind, you would rather be paying dues than paying rack rate at a Disney hotel, right? To where there's
100%.
there's no guarantee of inflation. There's no guarantee that those room rates are not going to be crazy. I used to always tell folks, and I still do, I say, listen, down the road, it's going to be $500 for you to stay at Port Orleans. And people laugh and go, no, it's never going to be $500 to stay at Port Orleans. And then we explain to them and say, yeah, it is, with inflation and how much the rates go up. And also you're paying that 12.5% tax every single night of your trip. Members are always, and that's why a lot of them say, you know what, the best part of my ownership is the dues. So I think this year, or maybe even next year, we're going to see a little bit more of an increase, you know, regarding the dues. Probably, hopefully nothing as big as it was, but I think once you kind of the dust settles and they still look at it and say, I own X amount of points, my dues are this much. Hold on a second. How much am I actually paying per night for me to stay at places like the Boardwalk, for me to stay at places like the Polynesian versus that guest? So as a member, despite what happened with the dues this year, as a DVC member, guys, you're always going to come out ahead, hands down.
And it's funny, I can actually attest to that personally because years ago I stayed at the Grand Californian in Disneyland, and I paid, it was about $230 a night. And I looked at the prices there recently, and oh boy, they are not $200 anymore.
Is that American dollars, Trevor, or is that Canadian?
That was American. So
okay, gotcha.
Yeah,
I'm just making sure.
Yeah, now it's a lot higher than that. So yeah, I know what you mean. I totally get what you're saying, Derek. It's that it's you say right now, no, there's no way this will go up, but yeah, even over like 3 or 4 years, it's amazing how those prices climb. So
hey, I can tell you firsthand, guides at Walt Disney World and all over the world that sell Disney Vacation Club guides love to use the example of how much was it a night to stay at the Polynesian back in 1971? $29 a night to stay at the Poly, right? And so we used to tell folks and say, you know, so imagine that's the great thing about DVC is, you know, imagine paying $29 a night, say, you know, now. And you say, how did you get that room for like $29 a night? That's crazy. We're paying like $500 a night. And you say, oh, I bought Disney Vacation Club, right? You know, I broke even on it. There's the purchase price and I broke even on it. Now I just pay the dues. And the dues are just what it takes to keep the resort operating. If you're not going to become a member, guys, you're still going to pay dues because it's built into your hotel room costs are the dues.
And that's, I think, the biggest thing is because there was a cast member change of rate, and Disney had to change their pay for a lot of cast members. They had to adjust some of the taxes for resort taxes that they weren't paying over the years because they were exempt from it. But it wasn't just DVC. They have to do it for the regular hotel rooms as well. So those rates have gone up just the same rate. You just don't see that written out in blogs, or you don't get an annual report that breaks it down. And it's not to say that they're going to continue to have to do that every single year.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
And that's the thing that drives me nuts sometimes. And like, if you look at some of the Facebook pages, they're, you know, the dues go up and they're like, DVC's getting greedy. And it's like, well, do you understand your dues pay for expenses? That's what the dues pay for. It's not a profit center for DVC. So
I like to tell folks too, you know, say, listen, you want your dues to go up. And let me tell you why. Because if your dues remained exactly the same, tell you what, you'd be sleeping on the same bed sheets from last year. The lawn wouldn't be mowed. The pool would be dirty. You want your dues to go up because it's maintaining that Disney quality. And that's why you love going there.
yeah, all those renos, all those improvements that you do see over the years, yeah, they have to come from somewhere, right?
Exactly.
All those new big TVs and I love those TVs, man. I love them.
Mm-hmm.
They do have some really nice TVs in some of those resorts. I think I stayed in Boardwalk a couple of years ago, and I was very impressed with the TV in that room. So that's funny. Yeah, that's one of those things I see all the time that drives me nuts. And it's like, guys, if you read the statement you get from your resort every year, you know, that breaks down all the things your money goes towards. One of them is not profit.
Right.
You know? So anyway. That was my soapbox for a second there.
Yeah, but I hope I think we answered Tom D's question pretty well. And do you want me to jump in on the next one here? I guess.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Okay, sure. Elizabeth and Matthew T ask, what are my financing options for buying a resale contract? What percentage of down payment money do I have to typically provide to finance a DVC resale?
So there's a couple companies out there that just focus strictly on DVC and the resale side of financing, which is pretty awesome. One of the top companies that we refer people to is Monera. Monera has a really sophisticated algorithm. So the great thing with them is they don't check credit. So again, I think we've talked about this a little bit on the last podcast, but people have been through hard times that when they go and want to buy from Disney and they go to check financing, sometimes people can't get approved because Disney has such high standards. With Monera, because they base their financing off the collateral of the purchase, you can literally log onto their site right away and get a loan quote. And you don't have to check credit. It's based on the contract that you're purchasing. So, and their rates are almost identical. I think slightly less than what Disney has in terms of their interest rates. Most of the companies out there do 5 to 10 year loan options, and your average down payment's about 20%. Vacation Club Loans is another great company out there. They do check credit. So if you have fantastic credit and you want to maybe see if you can get a little higher rate with your credit score, then Vacation Club Loans is another really good option.
Great. And I mean, I know too, if you finance through Disney, it's a pretty high interest rate too. It's not, not to say that those others aren't, but I know it's a pretty high interest rate through Disney too. So,
right.
Yeah. I've got a question here for you. I'm going to jump ahead a little bit here, and I'm going to go into a controversial topic because I want to do that. I briefly talked on the 2020 point charts. I'm sure you guys have gotten questions about this, or at least, know the deal about it. Lots of people have become amateur, DVC sleuths, where they're trying to figure out if DVC's trying to screw them over for 2020. I don't know if you guys have heard about that or not. Everybody's, making spreadsheets and trying to figure out how they feel like that Disney has raised the points on every category in 2020. But we've gotten this question from a couple people, and the thought was always that the total amount of points stays the same. So if they go up in one place, they go down in another. Can you guys discuss that a little bit? I mean, I don't know if you've looked at 2020 carefully.
Sure.
I think and a lot of times the way it's explained is to try to make it as simple as possible. So a lot of times the example is if you take a point chart and you look at the total number, if it goes down somewhere, then it's going to go up somewhere else, which is not actually the case. So it's the total number that's allocated to any resort. Now, that's not something that people are going to have access to. So you can do all the spreadsheets in the world. You won't actually have access to these numbers because that's something only Disney has. So they know the total number of points that they allocate to an entire resort or unit. So because of that, it's hard to really go through and figure out where these changes are allocated because it's not just point chart based. It's a total number of points per resort, not per point chart. So it's still the concept of if they lower them somewhere or raise them somewhere, they do have to shift or lower them somewhere else, but it may not always communicate through to the actual point chart.
Gotcha. So it's not something you could easily confirm just by looking at all the point charts and seeing all that, especially with the lock-offs and all that complicated stuff that comes through with that.
And Disney doesn't disclose the actual points allocated per resort.
Gotcha. So there's no way that somebody could really even figure that out if they tried.
No.
So, but
they're just driving themselves crazy.
That would be a perfect guest for your rumor mill show.
Oh, that's good. Well, okay. Well, along those lines, I saw that as immediately as people are always complaining there's not enough studios,
right.
And there aren't, and studios always book up quickly. And my assumption is they raised points on studios because studios are always booked up, and that they lowered points on the larger rooms because those are always more available. Do you guys think that that's the case, just based on your experience? Is that because I know a lot of people are a little upset about it because some people bought a certain amount of points thinking that would get them a week at a studio, and now it doesn't anymore.
And that's one of the things, even when we were working for Disney directly and trained very specifically in, is if the point chart says 103 points for the week, don't buy 103 points.
No, don't.
Buy 110, buy 80, and plan on borrowing every other year, because the total number of points can shift, and they will. And so you don't want to buy a set number in hopes that's going to stay the same every single year. And that's kind of the beauty of DVC, and that's, I think, one of the misconceptions when people look at a point chart change and they just kind of freak out. The beauty is Disney can shift it based on demand. And so rather than having all these people always try to get into studios, for example, if they can shift it and raise the studio points a little bit, it's going to allow some people to maybe have points to use in a one bedroom, or, open up more availability during these demanded time frames.
Yeah, I think I agree with you on that for sure, Marissa. I think what we're seeing though is it's that demographic of the bare minimums, right? And it's funny because I actually had, when I was going through this, when I bought my first contract with DVC, my guide actually said the same thing you're saying to me right now. He said, you have to make sure that you have enough points that if these numbers shift, that you're not going to completely push yourself out of what you want.
Right.
So yeah, that does make sense.
Yeah, we used to always love to tell folks, and we still get this question, and we tell them all the time, like, I'm just not sure how many points to buy. I go, well, the best number is you got to buy, obviously, what's financially affordable. I mean, sure, everyone would love to have 500 points or 1,000 points, but find what's economical to you. Find the resort that's going to work best for you. And again, we stress it's never going to be perfect. But I can tell you, no one has ever contacted the DVC Resale Market, that being a member, and said, you got to help me. I just have way too many points each year. I just possibly cannot use all of these vacation points. It's a conversation no one's ever had. It is always the other way around. Say they'll call us or go on chat and they'll be like, hey, Derek, I heard you on the Welcome Home podcast. You're right. I'm always borrowing points. I should have bought more when I first joined. Because again, that's the joy of what you have, is that any points say you don't use, so say you run into a time where you're not going to use them all, okay, so rent them out, right? We have a great rental partner at the DVCRentalStore.com, or give them to friends, give them to family. You can give them to Trevor. So yeah, there's plenty of things you can do with your points.
Yeah, if you get any of those calls, just send them our way, and we will gladly take the points off their hands for them.
We will help you with that.
Since you mentioned the rental market, and I'm sorry, Trevor, I know it's your turn for a question, but do you think that the resale changes, are going to affect the rental market, and if so, how?
Yeah, so I think there's definitely, from what we've talked to just with some of our friends and partners in the resale or in the rental side of it, there's definitely going to be a change. Again, we don't see it happening in the near future, but once we kind of hit that maybe 2030 stage, that's really when it may start to affect it. And people who own resale at a Riviera resort who now want to rent, it's going to be a little bit more challenging, and they're going to have to just find more sophisticated ways of setting up their balancing of those points and renting them out. But what will happen too is there's going to be less people that are going to be able to rent out their points. For example, Riviera, let's say you wanted to rent out 3 months in advance, it's likely you wouldn't be able to. So then Disney can then, let's say they didn't use the points at all, well then Disney can take over that inventory and then they can resell it at rack rate prices. So I think Disney's calculating the value into that as well when they're making this change, because they will profit off of that end of it.
Interesting. That is really interesting. I'm interested to see how this is going to change things. But like you said, it's not really going to change anything in the short term. It's really the long term that this is going to be majorly different.
Right.
Right. It's not, and we've talked to a ton of people today that said, Derek, I know I'm going to buy DVC. I know I wanted to buy one of these original 14 resorts. So honestly, this just makes me want to do it sooner rather than later. So it's almost that friendly Disney nudge, kind of to say, don't keep waiting, don't keep renting trips, take that plunge. You're going to give Mickey Mouse your money anyway. You might as well do it before January 19th.
You guys are going to have like a record January.
Oh, it's literally comical at this point. It's insane.
Well, and congratulations to you guys too, by the way. I know you had a record 2018 too, so congrats on that.
Yes.
We have a great team. Marissa and I are kind of, we do a lot of the social media stuff and we get to have fun with you guys too, but just our overall team is just so phenomenal, from, all the former vacation guides like ourselves that are doing it, our great contract administration team, all former great, fantastic Disney people, Christina and Janan, and then of course the leadership of Nick and Kevin. It just couldn't be a better group of people that truly, and that's what we want your audience to know, that we love what we do, right? We love it. We work for Disney. We have a passion for it. And so we love being able to help folks buy it. We help to love folks that need to sell it. And we look forward to continuing to do that for many, many, many years to come.
And I'll tell everybody too, when you do buy from them, because I did just buy a contract, and I'm sorry, Derek and Marissa, I did put down Nick, only because I've known Nick longer than you guys. But
Because he's
and I
not
didn't want to
busy
have to
enough
choose.
doing other things.
What's that?
He's not busy enough. Yeah,
I know, right? Well, listen, he's an option on the drop down. So,
Just making giving you a hard time.
but when you do buy from them, you can select who you want to work with. So, decide who you liked better on the podcast today, and then you can select Marissa or Derek.
This happens every time.
Yeah, but seriously, do that. So
I'm nicer than Derek.
Oh,
Trevor,
More
who did you
efficient,
pick?
But he's like a real
definitely
he's
prettier
a real
than me.
joyful character. So
Who did
but
Trevor?
if you
who-
guys just put "Welcome Home" in the comments, we'll know where you guys come from. We love to know who's actually listening. So
Yes.
it helps us just from like our marketing side to know that you've heard us. So just put "Welcome Home" in the comments, and then we'll work a little bit harder on getting that submitted before January 19th.
And put either of
I'd
us
like to hear
down.
that.
But again, in that comment, put Derek down, put Marissa down. But in that comment section, please put the Welcome Home podcast. We
Please
really,
do.
really, really do want to be able to track it down and say, wow, you know what? We sold 1 million points just from the Welcome Home podcast.
Trevor, I think we're gonna have to raise our rates. I don't know.
Well, I was going to say, I'll just be happy to hear that. I mean, it's...
we need to start getting
with
a
Trevor.
kickback here.
Started with Trevor, now the
I've given you a head start.
Exactly. Thank you, Trevor.
Yeah, and yeah, I did pick Derek, just
Oh, man.
randomly picked. So
It's a good choice. Marissa doesn't
D
even
comes
work
before
here.
M.
Yeah, D comes before M.
Yeah,
I'm the
pretty
first
much.
one, right? So it's easy to pick that.
Oh man. Do
Yeah.
we want to ask some more questions here?
Yeah,
keep it going.
I think we've actually got a lot of quick ones here. Actually,
Yeah, we do. We
Sorry,
do have some quick ones.
I realized I forgot there was a second part to Elizabeth and Matthew's question. So they were also asking. This actually kind of goes back to what I was asking about with the transferring between Riviera and the classic resorts. Is that they were asking if I own 100 points at Poly on a direct and I own 200 points at Saratoga on a resale contract, is it possible to merge points from my resale contract to my Poly contract to book the Poly at 11 months with all 300 points? So kind of the same idea, right?
Right. So
Yeah.
it's regardless of it's resale or direct. If you own at two different resorts, you only can use the allocated points that you purchase at that resort at the 11-month priority. So no matter where you're purchasing from, if you purchase two different resorts from Disney, if you purchase two different resorts resale or half resale, half direct, as long as you own two resorts, you only get, let's say you have 100 at Poly and 200 at Saratoga, you can only use that 100 at Polynesian at the 11-month priority.
And it's a great question because it's probably in the top 5 questions that we get on a daily basis. Hey, the combining points from different resorts. And I started to kind of just like to tell folks and say, I get it. It's a great question because probably the number one question is, hey, so can I buy points at Vero Beach and I could use those at Walt Disney World, right? And so we say, well, sure you can. That's 7 months out. Oh, because I was hoping if I buy 500 points at Vero Beach, but then buy 50 points at the Beach Club, that I could use all 550 to book 11 months at the Beach Club. It's like, nope, only with the points at that resort, which isn't a bad thing because we have a lot of folks that say, I have 200 points at Saratoga, but I love, say, the Beach Club. So I'm going to buy a 100-point contract, right? Because I'm going to take those 100 points for the Beach Club and I'm going to bank them. So every other year, I have 200 points to be able to book 11 months out at the Beach Club. So maybe I'll do a monorail resort trip one year, and then the next time I'm going to do an Epcot resort trip the next year. So if it's an every other year type thing, you can definitely do that too.
Okay.
That's great. Yeah.
Yeah.
Why don't we? Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry, Trevor. Go ahead.
You go ahead.
Well, I was just going to suggest we take a momentary break to do we're about at the halfway point here, and I want to do our ad for the lovely DVC Resale Market, folks. But did you want to say a follow-up real quick, Trevor, before I did that?
No, I was actually just going to say we had like 3 or 4 questions here that I think we can get through quick. But yeah, let's do the ad first, and then we can come back to this.
Yeah, we can come back to it. So obviously DVC Resale Market, good friends of ours. We love talking to them. We love having them on here. DVC Resale Market is the leader in the DVC resale industry with 11 former Disney Vacation Club guides and 2 former Disney Vacation Club quality assurance managers. I believe Derek and Marissa, you guys were guides, right? Or were you the quality assurance managers?
We were guys.
All right, you guys were guides. So these are 2 of them. We have them on today. If you're thinking of buying DVC, do it quickly. Browse the largest selection of DVC resale listings anywhere with DVC experts like Derek and Marissa on hand 7 days a week week to answer your questions. They told me they're going to be up really late tonight answering all your questions from the changes today, so they are there all the time to answer your questions. If you are thinking of selling, again, maybe do it quickly. Turn to the friendly professionals at DVC Resale Market, where over 98% of listings sell within 30 days, and over 2,400 contracts were sold in 2017 alone. And, you know, if you're looking to sell, it's going to sell in less than 30 days if you do in the next 2 weeks. Just throwing that out there. Not a guarantee, but probably. So go to dvcresalemarket.com or call 1-844-DVC-PROS, which is 1-844-382-7767. Let them know that Welcome Home sent you. As Derek said, we love to hear that you guys are reaching out to them and talking to them a lot. It means a lot to us, and it means a lot to them. So please let them know that you heard about them from us. And again, that's dvcresalemarket.com or 1-844-DVC-PROS. Or you can do like Trevor and I did and download their app and get alerts for the contracts that we're looking for. That's a great way to do things too. So yeah, if you guys want to talk to Derek and Marissa, please, reach out to them through their Facebook page, call them up, go on the website. They are here to answer your questions. And of course, they're here today to answer your questions too. So they're good friends of ours. Please work with them. We appreciate it. So, all right, we got some more questions, I'm sure, here. Trevor, you want to do one? I almost said Derek, you want to do one? Let me ask you guys.
Let me give you a list.
Is there anything that we haven't touched on with the new resale rules that you guys have been getting a lot today, like that you've heard a lot that we haven't asked you?
One thing I would say, and this is just kind of a tip for those of you who are on the fence or thinking about jumping in and buying or adding on, is if you've looked, go through our website and type in ROFR and look at the ROFR report of what Disney's been buying back. Last month, they bought back record high. They bought back 27% when normally they buy back like 3 to 10. So 27% is pretty huge, which again is leading to that they're storing up for a huge price increase on sold outs. With that said, a lot of times there's kind of that feel when it comes to resale that, hey, you can negotiate and go back and forth or maybe get a lower price on what it's listed for. Honestly, at this point, if you see a listing and you like it, you can put in an offer, try to go full price if you can, because not only is that going to allow us to start that sale process as soon as possible and get it submitted for you, but again, you're increasing your chances of getting that pass-through right of first refusal versus, yeah, maybe you can get it for way lower than it's listed for. And the seller's like, yep, I just want it gone. Yeah. Well, I would hate to be the one who has to call you 30 days from now and say, hey, you're out of luck. Disney bought your contract back. And now if you want to buy something, you have to buy it restricted.
Yeah, you got one shot. One shot.
Yep.
Hope you made a good offer, Trevor.
3 times the asking price.
Trevor took our advice before he even knew it was our advice.
I knew what you guys were implying when you were speaking earlier about the full price. And yes, I did offer full price on the contract that I'm looking at. So I took your advice before you said it, which is kind of a weird time travel-y thing, I guess.
You read their minds. They've been on too many times now. We know what they're going to say. Trevor, you got some more questions here for them?
Yeah. So I think this one's pretty easy. I think we kind of already answered this from Marie B. She would love further clarification on purchasing a second contract. Things like use year, when you're able to combine points from each contract, ability to purchase one-time use points. Or I guess we didn't really go over that. Anything to do with adding a resale contract. So I guess kind of what I'm doing right now is she wants to know, how are you able to combine those contracts together to use them, or what things do you need to be aware of, I guess, when you're combining them?
Yeah, I think so too. That I always like to talk to folks when they say, hey, I'm a member and I'm looking to add on. It does make your life a little bit easier if you can keep the same use year. And a lot of people say, oh, well, it doesn't matter. But thousands do it with different use years, but I always want, and that's what we pride ourselves on, making sure you guys know everything, that a different use year, even if the names are the same, even if the resort is different, that's fine. But if the use year is different, if there's any difference from that original contract when it comes to use year or the names that are on the deed, it will result in a different membership, meaning you basically will have a separate membership, right? So you'll have 2 separate member numbers. So you're not going to log into your account you have now and see all your points. You're not going to be able to book all your points at one time. You'd have to call member services each time you wanted to transfer points from one account to the next. Again, it's something that's very doable, but it's something that a lot of folks don't think about. So I would say in a perfect world, if you can match up your same use year, not the same resort, just the same use year, it really will help things just go a lot smoother for you. Again, it's doable with different ones, but just know it's definitely just a little bit more work when it comes to that. Because like we talked about earlier, if there's any change to that original deed, like the person that was thinking about, adding someone or doing that, any change to the original deed is going to result in a different membership number. So as long as folks are aware of that, but again, that's what we're here for. So when you have questions, reach out to us and say, hey, I thought I heard something about a use year, or does it really matter? We just want to make sure that you know all the ins and outs. That's all. Yeah,
and I can attest to that too, because when I put my offer on my contract, it actually asks you when you're putting the offer in on the website, it says, is it the same? Do you have this use year already? And when I checked no, and Nick called me, he said, just so you know, this is what happens when you have a different use year. Right. And at the time I was like, that's fine, no problem, whatever. And then after I closed on everything and now I have 2 different member numbers, I'm like, okay, I could see this is going to be, now I have to manage my points a little more actively than I used to. I have to be a little smarter about how I manage my points. Right. But it's like you said, it's not undoable.
No, not at all.
So... yeah, so I made that mistake already. So everyone learned from that. But Trevor, is smart in doing the same use year. So
yeah, but again, that's purely a preference thing too, right? It's
of course.
Yeah, like you said, you in your case, Tom, you can have different use years, different resorts, all that kind of stuff, and as long as you're fine with it, then no big deal, right?
I got an itchy trigger finger is what happened.
Yep. Well,
I kept waiting for the perfect contract to come up, and I was like, I just want to buy one. And then this one came up, and I was like...
oh, yeah, that happens quite a bit, especially sometimes maybe, overnight, and maybe the next day we get the email offers, and we look, and we kind of call people and say, hey, thanks for that full price offer. Congratulations. Are you ready to move forward? And they're like, you know what? I got to talk to my wife. Can I call you back?
Well, I was actually sincerely surprised at how quickly the process went, because I maybe hit send, and then like 15 minutes later, I get a call from Nick, and he's like, "Oh, the seller accepted your offer." I'm like, "What do you mean? Like that just happened like 15 minutes? What are you talking about? They already accepted the offer." I was like, I thought that was going to take like weeks.
No, and the weird thing is, if you would have put myself or Marissa down, we would have called you in 5.
Oh, man. Talking trash about Nick. I'm going to email him.
No, but it does attest to, again, I think a lot of people have come on chat today and asked me, hey, is it too late for me, again, to buy before that January 19th deadline? Again, our team is so fast, and we are working all hours, so don't be afraid to put an offer in, especially before Wednesday of next week on the 16th, because we're going to make sure that we are going to get that process for you.
Yeah, and we're going to be your point of contact, too, throughout the whole entire process. So we always pride ourselves, and I think my favorite compliment that I get from folks all the time is, you know what, I purchased DVC with you, and I got the Disney service, but I didn't have to pay the Disney prices. So for us, that's what we kind of pride ourselves on, right? So that's what we're here for.
Awesome.
That's great. I wanted to ask you guys, just based on your experience with DVC, you guys have been around for a while. We were talking about Riviera, which, by the way, did you guys see the short little video and the little design? Like we get, I don't know why they're trickling stuff out like this, but it drives me nuts. I just want to see what a room looks like. Yeah. But we got to see the front of the resort, which looks really nice and made me a little more interested, although I don't know how much I am now. But anyway, based on your experience, they're saying that's going to open in fall. When do you guys think they're going to start selling that resort?
Oh, boy.
Just a guess.
Hard to say. I mean, usually if it's going to open in fall, they would have already started selling it by now.
Yeah.
I think there is a little delay in time frame, and it's hard to say. They also usually give some sort of like a sellout notification to the members or even the guides at some point when they start to sell out on their current resort, and we haven't heard anything of that on Copper Creek. So it's really hard to say, because they've been very tight-lipped about this one. And there's also been a lot of rumors of delayed construction on Riviera. So in combination, it's hard to say really when that timeline's going to be.
Interesting. I'm assuming if they're planning on opening it in fall, though, they're going to have to start selling it pretty soon here, right? I mean, you think. I would hope so.
Last week.
Yeah, I have to wonder if maybe they were waiting for this January 19th announcement.
I think they have a lot of stuff coming in the next couple of weeks in addition to that. I think with the price increase, not only on Copper Creek, but sold out. So I think, definitely look out for some more announcements fairly soon.
Okay, good to know.
Yeah, that is good to know, for sure. Trevor, you got any more before we?
So I think I can probably answer Kevin's question. So the next question we got, Kevin asks, in your opinion, which WDW DVC resort is the best value for money on the resale market? You said Saratoga, right?
Yeah, we actually do a blog. Nick does. He's so amazing at these. They just magically appear at just the exact same time you need something, and it's like, oh, I already have a blog on that. So it's fantastic. So you can see it on our website. That we do one every quarter, and Saratoga just overall every single season always comes out on top, because when folks are looking for that most economical resort, when it comes to length of deed, when it comes to the annual dues, you really can't beat Saratoga, right? But again, I always stress to folks too, and that's what we love, what we get to do, because everybody's different. Some people cannot fathom spending so much per point for, say, the beach club or the boardwalk, right? Because there's such few years. Other people see that is the best value I can possibly get, because Derek and Marissa, that's where I want to stay. I want to have that security blanket that I know for the next, say 20 some years, that I can get into the beach club or the boardwalk. I don't want to have to roll the dice at 7 months out, hoping I get in there. So that's where those folks will absolutely see the value in that. Other folks say, I don't see the value in paying anything extra for 4 extra months, because Derek, Marissa, I don't book that far out. I'm lucky if I book 7 months out or 6 months out. Then why would you pay extra for a resort, right, that's more per point for a privilege that you're not going to use? So some folks see value in length of deed, some folks see value in locations, some folks see value in dues, but definitely check out the blog that we have on our site right now. You can see it when you go onto dvcresalemarket.com. At the very top, it just says blogs, and you can go back and look at all of our ROFR reports. You can look at most economical resorts and great stories there as well, too.
Yeah, and I believe we posted, I know we posted it because I've done it. We posted that to our Facebook page several times too. It's a great report, really breaks everything down and tells you their methodology behind why this is the most valuable. But like you said, not everybody, value is not the most important to everybody, right? And, I thought value was the most important to me. And it's funny because my wife and I, when we were talking about buying resale, we said, let's do Saratoga or Animal Kingdom, because we really love Animal Kingdom, right? And we stayed there a bunch of times. And so we're looking around, and separately, my wife and I both made the same decision and came together later and discussed it, where we decided we want to do Animal Kingdom, even though it's not the most economical. It's not the most money, value for your money. We have a young daughter, and we're thinking to ourselves, hopefully she loves animals, because if she doesn't, then we're screwed. But but we're thinking to ourselves, there's a lot of value in her going out on the balcony and seeing a giraffe. That's a cool thing. And so for us, we thought, maybe we should buy there, even though we could probably book there with our Saratoga points. I think we just felt like it would be kind of cool to own a piece of Animal Kingdom. So, like you said, it's really up to what you value. And, Trevor buying at Poly, because he loves Poly, right? So.
Yeah. The theme, the location, all that stuff, that's where the value is for us. So,
although Poly, I think, is like top 3 or 5 for the most valuable, right? For you guys, I think.
It keeps going up there. Grand Floridian is going to jump up too, just because it came out with the lowest dues on Disney property. So that's another change. We haven't done the report since we've done the change in dues. So we'll definitely have that out soon. But that one jumped up the list as well.
Oh, wow.
Bay Lake Tower is always number 2 typically.
That's where I own, besides AKV. AKV also, coincidentally, my daughter's initials, but that was not on purpose, I promise. To everybody out there, we are Disney crazy, but we did not purposely name my daughter after Animal Kingdom Villas. Let me just throw that out there. So, we're not that crazy. We just, coincidence. So, anyway.
All right.
Do we have any other questions, or do we want to move on to some other things here?
Actually, yeah. So real quick, actually, I got one more here, and actually, I noticed this too when I was looking at the app for you guys. Is that on the app, one of the contracts I was looking at, it said, or no, it didn't say loaded. It said double. But so Barry S was asking. He wants to hear the opinion of loaded versus stripped contracts, and when is one a better deal than the other. So I think I saw that when I was looking at contracts as well on the app, is that one came up as double. So I'm assuming that means there was more points on it than there usually is.
Right. And that honestly kind of goes back to, too, where folks are going to find the value. A lot of members will honestly look for a stripped contract. And I say, and when we say stripped, that just means that maybe there's no points for 2019, or maybe there's even no points for 2020. So some folks say, well, that's crazy. Why would I buy a contract with no points on it? Well, because a lot of members say, you know what, I don't need points, right? Because I already have the trips that I need are already set. I'm fine on points. I know I'm going to need it down the road. And a stripped contract will always be less per point than a quote unquote loaded contract. So when we say a loaded contract, that could mean a couple things. It could mean it's got all the points. So if I'm going to buy a 200 point contract, man, I look at a loaded contract for say AKV and look, it's got 200 points for 2019, 200 points for 2020. Perfect. You had mentioned like double points. We get that question a lot. What does double points mean? You can find something with double points. It's huge because basically it means right now that you could have points from 2018. The dues are paid on those points. So basically you're getting whatever amount of points it is. If it's a full year's worth of points, you're going to get that year's worth of points basically for free. So it's like a free vacation. So folks say, man, I'm going to get 200 points from 2018 that the dues are paid, and I'm getting 200 points for 2019. That will always be higher per point than something that has, stripped points to it. So again, everybody's different when it comes to what you need. Some folks want to travel right away. Other folks don't need to travel until, say, 2020. So it really just depends what your family's needs are. So that's when you reach out to us. You reach out to Marissa, you reach out to myself or our great team there, and we can happily answer the questions and figure out what's going to work best for you. Because again, at the end of the day, it's going to be money, right? So what financially is going to work best for you?
I definitely agree with that logic too, right? Because I was looking at it too, and even in my case, I was like, I saw the double thing, and my wife asked about it, and I said, well, that means it's got the extra points, but we're in a position where we've already made our vacations, we've already booked our vacations for this year, so it's like, it's not useful, right?
Well, and you don't see a ton of those, I feel like, either. I don't see a ton of the two double points. Am I wrong about that?
You might not see a full-fledged double point, because again, we'll only call it double points if it's got truly double points. So you might see some if it's a 200-point contract. You might see, maybe they banked 100 of those points, right, from 2018. So when you click on any listing, that's what's so great about our website. I truly will shout it from the rooftops. I think we have hands down the best user-friendly, easy to navigate, got all the info you could possibly need from A to Z, that when you click on any listing, you'll be able to see. It breaks it down exactly where the points are from, breaks it down exactly how many are coming from this year, from next year, from last year, so that way you can go ahead and reach out to us about it. And some folks, though, will look at, say, a loaded point contract, right? So maybe if it's got double points, and they say, just like you said, well, I ain't going to use it, so I don't really need it. But other folks say, hey, you know what? I don't need it, but if I'm getting points from 2018, let's say, and they're basically the dues are paid on them, I'm not going to let them go to waste, so maybe I'll reach out to your great rental partner, right, at dvcrentalstore.com, and I'll just rent those points back and make a little money off of it.
That's kind of what I was thinking, as the solution to not having access to Riviera. Like for me, if I wanted to stay at Riviera, maybe I would just, rent out my points and then pay cash. Like if I really wanted to stay there.
It's so funny you talked about that, because we had a great team meeting when all these changes came out. And that's pretty much the consensus that we all said, and we think that a lot of folks are going to say too, is, well, down the road, let's say that Disney, say in 10, 15 years, they open up a ski resort, right? They've been talking about that forever. So if they open up a ski resort and you say, oh, but I can't use my points to stay there. Okay, so you got two options. Either rent out the points you already have and then go ahead and stay at the ski resort and just pay cash for it. Or at that point, if the resort's been open for a while, if it's going to have the same stipulations that the Riviera has on it when folks turn around and have to sell it and you could only use it at that resort, it's going to be significantly cheaper to purchase something like that on the resale market. So then they say, oh yeah, that's a great point. So maybe I'll just buy points at that ski resort down the road, because they're definitely going to be cheaper than what folks go ahead and pay for it by buying it direct.
That makes sense. Can you guys actually speak to, Trevor and I were talking about this before we started. So how everybody talks about this all the time, and you guys probably have better knowledge of this than we do. because you'll hear DVC members sometimes go, I don't understand why there's no availability at my resort, but if I go on the Disney World website, there's rooms available at my resort. Can you guys explain that a little bit, why that's like that? Why there's cash rooms at the DVC resorts? Because I think a lot of people have that question.
Yeah, it's a very common question. And if you feel like I'm talking too much, it's just that Marissa had to take an emergency phone call. So,
oh, no.
So forgive me if you're stuck with hearing me talk for long periods of time. But yeah, it's a great question, and it comes up a lot. And of course, you'll see it on the social media groups too, is I tried to book and I couldn't get anything, but I went on DisneyWorld.com and they had rooms available. It's important to know that the Disney company owns 2% of the inventory for every single Disney Vacation Club resort. They own 2%. Wow. Disney Vacation Club members have access to 98%. It is completely different inventory. So when you see those rooms being, rented to a guest, through DisneyWorld.com or whatnot, that is not your inventory. That is nothing to do with the Disney Vacation Club inventory. If it's booked, it's because it's booked by members, not anyone renting a room. So it's very, very, very important to know that.
So your dues are not paying for that room that someone's paying cash for.
Correct.
Is what you're saying.
Correct. Yes. Disney owns more points than anybody in the world, and they have to pay dues on those points. So, yeah, it's completely different inventory. So I get the frustration, but when folks kind of realize that, they go, oh, okay. Yeah, that does kind of make sense.
Yeah, it does. That makes total sense. So,
well, you just Trevor, made a very terrifying thought in my head of how much that 2% on each resort, how expensive those dues actually are.
Well, it's Disney paying Disney, kind of, right?
Yeah. I don't feel bad for them, but no. it's very amusing to think about that.
It's a small, struggling company.
Yeah, it is. It's just it's a fledgling company. It's they're up and coming, I've heard. Oh, man. I think we've exhausted all of our questions, unless there's any other questions that you had that you've been getting. I know you guys have been getting bombarded today, but if there's anything else about that resale, those changes that you guys want to mention before we move on to talking about Trevor's upcoming trip here, because Trevor's leaving pretty soon. So we want to talk about what he's going to be doing. But is there anything else that you've heard a lot today that you want to mention that people have questions about?
Yeah, I think the main thing is, like we touched on, we just want people to have that peace of mind that once they hear changes, but once you actually see what those changes are and how it will personally affect you and your ownership, it's probably not going to push you over the edge, right? I don't like Disney Vacation Club, so I'm definitely not going to buy it now. No, if you were going to buy it before, it just makes sense to maybe do it a little bit sooner rather than later. And I want to stress too that we're always going to be here, right? So if you wind up purchasing after January 19th, again, that's the important thing. You will still have access to 14 of the greatest resorts in Disney Vacation Club history. The ones on the monorail, the ones near Epcot, right? You're going to have access to all of those resorts. The booking is exactly the same, right? 11 months out at your home resort, 7 months, and you could turn around and sell it. So that's what we want to give folks, the peace of mind. What this little urgency tool does is just gets those folks that were kind of on the fence and maybe going to do it within the next 6 months or maybe even a year. You know what? Do it sooner than later. Reach out. Why not? You don't want to look back and say, I wish I would have done that sooner. Because again, when it comes to Disney Vacation Club, there's two things that we hear all the time. It's always, I wish I did it sooner, and I wish I would have bought more points at the time I first joined. Every person says the exact same thing. So what our urgency is, we just want to stress to people, and that's why we're so grateful for you having us on the show today, to be able to have folks know this and to have folks reach out to us. And again, the best way to reach us, shoot us an email, right? Just DEREK at DVCResaleMarket.com or Marissa, MARISSA at DVCResaleMarket.com. Reach out to us with questions. That's what we are here for. If you do wind up making an offer, like we said, put down Derek, put down Marissa. Either one is fine. In that comment section, though, put that welcome home. We want to track this back to your fantastic audience. And again, that's what we're here for. We are here to help. You guys have the best audience in the whole entire world. So we're so grateful for you having us on. So I know it took a lot of juggling to get us on. So thank you for doing that.
No, it was definitely important for us to have you on, and the timing was really great. So
it was perfect.
And Derek, you feel free to stick around for the rest of our nonsense for the rest of the show. We've got a few more things we're going to talk about, but I'm sure you can offer some valuable stuff there. I had thought of one more question. My gosh, because I did see this. Do you have any theory as to why they're doing this? I mean, is it just to push down resale, to up direct sales? Is it Star Wars related? I mean, any theory as to why you think they're doing this?
Yeah, I think there's probably, a couple of reasons. You can check out the blog that we have. Nick did a really, really great job of just trying to kind of, compile a lot of thoughts about why the Disney company would do this. It's definitely unlike the other changes that kind of, we kind of heard about and slowly kind of trickled in, like they're going to be doing this or going to be doing that. This one did kind of hit us like, wow, are they seriously considering doing that? And why would the Disney company do that? Because again, that's one of the best parts about Disney Vacation Club is that when folks look at this, they say, you know what's my exit strategy? And you could always have that peace of mind when you purchased it, that down the road, knowing that there is such a vibrant resale market that you can turn around. Again, it's it's not an investment, right? So it's a luxury purchase. But if I'm going to go out and purchase a car and spend $30,000-$40,000 on a car, I want to know, well, if I need to sell that car, what am I going to get for it down the road? So there's a lot of stuff that kind of made us, peak our eyebrows a little bit, especially when it comes to, selling the Riviera and buying Riviera resale. You could only use it at the Riviera. So there's, a couple of things, but probably they're buying back a lot of stuff. So if it looks like, the resale value is going to be less and the direct price kind of remains the same or increases, the profit margin when they're buying them back is going to be a little bit bigger. They can probably wind up getting, and I know, again, this is years down the road when it comes to Riviera, it's for foreclosures. So for folks that foreclose on it, for folks that realize after they purchase something, a big purchase and they can't afford it anymore, that Disney doesn't have to compete with resale, right? They can just take it over in foreclosure, turn around and sell those points and make 100% profit on it. So that's a lot of things that people are maybe thinking about it. So yeah, there's just a huge, I wish I could be a fly on the wall in these meetings to try to figure out exactly what the mindset is. Yeah. But it put my mind at ease once I looked at all the details. And again, knowing that for folks that even if you purchase after January 19th, you still have access to the 14 fantastic Disney Vacation Club resorts. That's what we want to stress over and over again to anybody, that if you're buying and if you needed to sell it down the road, again, the same thing will not be the same for Riviera. If you buy Riviera and if you sell Riviera, anybody that buys a resale Riviera, it's just not going to hold the same value like those original 14 resorts. So, but again, everybody's going to have different questions. So again, that's what we're here for. Call us, reach out to us. We're happy to help you every single step of the way.
Well, that's great. And we really appreciate you guys coming on today. Like I said, feel free to leave or to stick around for the rest of our nonsense here. We either one, it's up to you. We like having you guys on. So
I'm going to go work on competing and fulfilling Trevor's offer here. So
that's okay.
That sounds
too.
good.
I'm okay
sounds
with
that.
And guys, seriously, thank you guys so much. We here, the whole entire team here, cannot thank you guys enough and cannot thank your audience enough. So reach out to us with any questions you guys have.
Thank you so much. We really appreciate it. We appreciate you guys being sponsors on the show and just being willing to come on and talk about this. I know this is going to be really, really valuable to our listeners. And I know you said our listeners are smart. I think most of the time they're smarter than we are because they correct us on things all the time.
Yes, they do.
Yes, they do. And we don't know things. So yeah, no, thank you for coming on. We really appreciate it. And I know our listeners will too. So great.
Wow,
that
was so much information, but I'm so glad that we got the opportunity to talk about that.
Oh no, for sure. People are gonna our listeners are gonna absolutely eat that up because that is a great amount of information. Because you see that news today and it sounds scary, right? But these are the people that sell this stuff. If anybody should be scared, it's them, and they're not. They're not. They feel good about this, and it is a big change, yes, but there are it's not the end times for DVC or for DVC resale. It sounds like there's a lot of good things that are still going to be happening, and any changes that might be happening are 5 to 10 years down the road. So let's not worry too much about it now, I guess. But yeah, like we said, if it's anything, it would be them. That's that they would be worried. So I would say out there, everybody that's panicking about this, don't worry too much. I think it's going to be okay. And once we get more details about this, we'll obviously talk about it on the show. So
yeah. And obviously, hopefully we'll have a chance to talk with Marissa and Derek again in the future about after Riviera
the
comes
dust
out
is
and
settled.
everything. Yeah, we'll have a better idea once these things actually start happening. And even like Marissa said, I wouldn't be surprised if in the next couple of weeks we get a much clearer view of what Riviera is really going to be, right? So I'm actually kind of looking forward to that, which is weird.
No, I
Yeah.
am too. I think you're right about that, by the way, that they're waiting until after this announcement and after the 19th to start selling that. I feel like they're going to announce what the price is, and then they're going to start selling it pretty soon. It feels like that's what they're going to do. So
Yeah.
But enough about this. Let's hear about your trip.
Yeah, let's talk about more pertinent things that are even
More important things.
So,
yeah, exactly. This is more important, your trip coming up here.
Yeah, so the funny thing is, I leave January 19th. So so the day all of this changes is the day I get to Disney, which is very funny. So yeah, I guess this trip coming up, this will be the first time I've gone in January. So that's going to be interesting. I've been doing a lot of research on it, mainly because I've been used to going in, hotter times of the year. So this will actually be fairly cool as far as Florida weather goes. But I don't know. I mean, I'm coming from a colder climate, so it's hard, right? It's hard to kind of figure out, dressing appropriately, all that kind of stuff. So we'll see how that goes. The other thing that's interesting about this trip is that it kind of changed at the last minute, and not the whole trip, but what ended up happening was I have some friends that I've known online for years. So I've played online games with them, and I've gotten to know them over the years. And just the stars just happened to align that we're all going to be in Orlando at the same time. So I'm actually getting a chance to meet up with them, and so the result of that is we're actually all going to Magic Kingdom for a day together. And so I had to learn very quickly about how to add people to my Disney experience, how to book fast passes for multiple people that all have their own plans and all that kind of stuff. So I learned a lot about the system, and it's really not that difficult. It's just more a matter of getting everybody's stuff synced together was the biggest challenge. So
that's something I'm going to be dealing with in October, because my trip that I've been talking about for a while keeps getting bigger and bigger. Like people, because we're staying in a 2-bedroom that can sleep, I think, like 9. Like people keep going, well, we're going to come for a couple days too, and it's like, okay, well, that makes my planning brain explode.
Yeah,
and that makes things hard.
Same thing for me is, and so something interesting that I figured out pretty quick is that, and actually this is a good lesson learned for, I guess, anyone that is looking at stuff like this, is that booking dining reservations and booking fast passes, their dining reservations is actually easier to do than fast passes, believe it or not. So I actually added on to a dining reservation that I had, and I had to add like 7 or 8 people to it.
Wow.
Yeah. So yeah, there's going to be a group of us, and I had to find a new time, but it didn't require, I just needed to add on to the existing reservation. I didn't have to go and, link their accounts to my accounts, or it was very easy to just say, here is my reservation plus 8 guests. So I guess that's the first thing, is that if you're doing any kind of reservations like this, if you're planning on, having a big sit down meal, because people like to do that, right? You get everybody together for one meal or whatever. You can do that very easily, and you don't have to wait on other people to do that. You can just go and say, I know I need it for X amount of people, book it, done. Fast passes, though, are a much trickier deal.
If we were an explicit podcast, there's some words you could say.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't go that far. It hasn't been to the point where I've been upset about it, but it was just figuring out how it worked. And the biggest thing to realize so I do see this occasionally on Facebook groups, as people are talking about, I'm going with, my cousin. How can I, book stuff for them, or how can I book stuff with them? So the first thing that I learned is that you need to make sure that you add people to your family and friends list. So I had to get the email addresses of everybody that was going, that had their own My Disney Experience account set up, and I had to add them to or send them friend requests so that I could manage their plans. And then once I did that, I could actually see them inside of My Disney Experience. So that's the first thing, is you'll get everybody else's information and consolidate it. If you're the planner on the trip, make sure you do that. The second thing too is that they have to have park tickets purchased for the days that you're trying to book fast passes for. If they don't have park tickets and you do, it won't let you do anything. And it kind of sounds obvious, it kind of makes sense, but at the time when I was doing it, I was thinking like, oh, I know they're going to buy their park tickets, but I'll just book the fast passes now and it'll be fine. Disney won't let you do that.
They don't let you do that. No.
Yeah. So I had to, go to everybody, and it's also not just that they purchase the park tickets, they have to go into My Disney Experience and link those,
them, right? Yeah.
link them to themselves and link them to anybody else in their party. So like I had one friend where one person was managing the tickets for two of them, and she set it up for herself, and I was like, okay, great. And so I added her to a fast pass that I made, and then I went to go and add her boyfriend to the fast pass, and it wouldn't let me. And so I had to go back and say, wait, hold on. Yeah. Well, I was like, wait, hold on. This isn't working. And then I had to tell her to, go and link that ticket to him. And then as soon as she did that, it worked. So,
jeez.
Yeah. So yeah, it's very technical, but now that it's in there, now that I've got it all in there, it's actually, it makes a lot of sense and it's easy, but they don't tell you any of this stuff on the website. So I guess for anyone listening to this, I hope that somebody else, gets some value out of listening to this podcast for that reason, because that's probably the biggest thing that I've learned in the last month about My Disney Experience. Yeah.
Well, so I'm assuming you're staying at Poly, but like any special things that you're doing, any extra events, any dining, any of that kind of stuff?
Yeah. So we've got a couple of places booked for dining. So I wanted to try the Skipper Canteen in Magic Kingdom.
Oh, yeah.
So, I'm interested for that. I do like the Jungle Cruise, and I'm kind of excited for that, for like just the theme of the restaurant. Other places, we're redoing Garden Grill because we decided we love Garden Grill.
Oh, nice! I haven't done Garden Grill since I was like 5. I need to do it again.
It's a great place in Epcot, and everybody says that. I've seen this so many times on Facebook. People ask, where should I eat in Epcot? And the first thing is always Garden Grill. So we're doing that again. We're also doing Primetime 50s Diner again because we loved it the last time we went. We thought it was a great experience, and my son wanted to do it again, even over top of the Sci-Fi Diner. So,
oh wow!
Yeah,
I love that resort. I mean, not resort. I love that restaurant too. It is a lot of fun. We've taken a couple people there just because it's silly fun. It's like what do you call it? Whispering Canyon, but it's with a 50s theme, and it's still rowdy and kind of fun and ridiculous, and
just super fun.
There's not enough places like that at Disney. I feel like there's only a couple of them here and there. They're gems.
Yeah, exactly. So we're doing that one again, and then we actually have one very packed day that it just. Again, this was a result of the stars aligning with my friends and readjusting our bookings and everything. Is that in one day we're doing Crystal Palace in the morning, we're doing Hoop-de-Doo for the 4:00 show. So we're doing the Hoop-de-Doo review,
early dinner.
Yep, and then we're doing the fireworks dessert party.
Which one?
The Plaza Garden View at
the Magic Kingdom one.
Yeah, Happily Ever After, because again we the funny thing is and some people may disagree with me on this, that I'm not booking the dessert party for the dessert. I don't really care that much about because they have the sit down in Tomorrowland Terrace, and I don't even care about that. I just wanted to have an opportunity to stand in the middle of the hub and watch Happily Ever After, and that's really all I'm paying for. Which I know that's
you're paying for the view. You're paying for the view.
Exactly. Yeah. And but I know to some people it sounds like, well, you're not even like really going for the dessert party. Like I don't even care that much about it. I care about, like I said, we're going to go from Hoop-de-Doo, which is a big meal. Then we're going to go to the dessert party, and then after Happily Ever After, we are doing the Disney After Hours event.
Oh yeah, so that should be cool. I would love. I can't wait to hear a review of that.
Yeah, so that day is going to be like
it's going to be jam packed.
Well, but here's the funny thing is that I booked some fast passes for that morning, but I told my wife, I said, we may just say forget it to the fast passes and just go back and spend that have a day at the resort, because that evening, like as soon as we go for dinner, we're going to be like all in on the Magic Kingdom, right? So
I mean, everything I've seen about the after hours events, it's like walk on for every single ride. So why
Yeah,
would you need any
exactly.
fast passes that day, right?
Yeah.
I will tell you, Trevor, during the wintertime and when I've done the dessert party at Magic Kingdom, they had drinking chocolate there. That was like the greatest thing I've ever had. So you might want to check that out.
Okay, that's good to know. I was expecting, because last time we went, the sparkling apple cider is good. Like they always serve that,
Yeah.
and I was thinking, I'll have some of that. But yeah, if there's special stuff in the winter, then I'll be a little more intrigued on that.
I don't know if they always have it. I just know when I went in December a couple of years ago, they had the drinking chocolate. They have like little tiny mugs that you put it in because it's super concentrated.
It's like espresso hot chocolate.
Yeah, but it was so good. They should have given me a full mug of that. I would have drank a whole coffee cup of that. Forget the tiny glass. But anyway, continue. I'm excited to hear how that after hours event is, because that's not something that a lot of people do, and I think it's a cool event, and I really want to hear how it goes. So
yeah, and again, that was our thinking with it, is that we have the opportunity to do it now, so we're taking that opportunity, and it's also allowing us that the last trip we went on, we still get into this holiday mode of like go, like running around way more than we should be, and we're trying not to do that. But and so the reason that we booked the after hours is that we know it'll give us the opportunity to really go and hit up all those rides, hit up all the stuff that we know we want to do, and not feel pressured that we have to spend entire days necessarily trying to get onto, or multiple days getting onto all the rides that we want, right? Like it'll let us get that fix for walk on rides and all that kind of stuff. But then again, it's a premium experience, and I think it's justified for our situation. Yeah. So yeah, we have that, and then the only other thing we have outside of that is I have booked my Wreck-It Ralph at the Void as well.
Nice.
So yeah,
I'm excited to hear about that one too. Are you going to try to do Star Wars again too, or are you just going to do Wreck-It Ralph?
So we may try and do Star Wars afterwards. I didn't book anything for Star Wars, but my son. So I told him I booked Wreck-It Ralph, and I thought he was going to be all excited, and he turned to me and said, "We're doing the Star Wars one too, right?" And I was like, I said, okay, yeah, we'll try to. I said, it depends on how we're feeling that day. Like, we may want to take a break. I mean, honestly, we'll probably end up doing it anyway, but
they don't give a DVC discount there, do they?
No, they don't.
I feel like they should.
Yeah, it would be nice if they did.
Yeah.
So actually, yeah, speaking of discounts, actually, one other thing too is, so I have booked my November trip, and
oh, nice.
Yeah, unfortunately, so we were talking about it. I think it was 1 or 2 episodes ago. Me and Damon were going to try and see if we could line up our dates. Unfortunately, we're not going to be able to meet up down there. Just again, because of our schedule, I'm going earlier in November, and yeah, we're going to miss each other, unfortunately. But the thing about booking that trip is that, again, because of the magic of DVC and everything, is that I went back and I looked at my park tickets, and this time I had just bought, standard tickets for our trip. But because we've booked that second trip now in November, it actually makes more sense for me to buy the Gold Pass.
That's what I was going to ask you. Are you going to do AP, because all you got to do is pay the difference,
Yeah. So I already called and asked about it, and they said, yeah, you can absolutely transfer your existing park tickets into a Gold Pass, but I have to do that when I get down there. So I was hoping to do it ahead of time, because the last time that I had bought Gold Passes, because I knew I was going to be going twice in 1 year, they let me upgrade it to the Platinum Pass because of the promo that they had, and they let me do that online. But going from standard passes to an annual pass, they won't let you do that online. So you have to actually go to the gate to do that. You
got to go to guest relations when you get there, and they'll do it for you. Yeah, we did that. We did that before too. And I was going to say, I mean, it'd be crazy not to do AP for that. I mean, and because it'll save you a lot of money. I like it too, because when you're on the trip, you can kind of just be like, well, maybe we won't go to the parks today. Maybe we'll just hang out, but then we'll go later tonight. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like
exactly.
You get like freedom out of that, because you don't feel like you're wasting a ticket by only going for a half day.
Yeah, and that was kind of, that was part of it too, is it, like, because of all the changes that happened, like I said, changes with, now I'm meeting my friends down there. So that actually was we were initially talking about buying another day for the day we arrived, because we were going to meet them after we landed in Orlando. But the problem is that we land like late in the day. And so I was looking at going, well, do I pay for a full day's park ticket when we're only going to be in there for, maybe 2 or 3 hours at a time? And because my friends, they're all coming from, they're either coming in on the Friday or like they're driving down or whatever. So they're all going to be there way ahead of us. So like they're spending Saturday, and then I'm meeting up with them for Sunday. But for the Saturday night, I was like, do I justify spending for that extra day? But yeah, now that once I realized that I was booking my November trip, I was like, well, yeah, buy the annual pass. That way, we show up. If we spend 2 hours in the park on Saturday, big deal, right? So
exactly, yeah, that makes total sense. That's the big thing I like when I've done the annual pass holder before. Just it makes you feel a lot more, because I'm the type of person that when we go on vacation, like we always go hard, because I'm like, I want to get every dollar that I spent out of this thing. Like, you know what I mean? Like, yeah. We didn't do any pool days. We did none of that. But if you have an annual pass, it's like, oh, okay, maybe we'll just hang out at the pool and then, go to the parks later today and just take it easy, So
it's already paid for, right? It's,
exactly. Yeah,
2 hours here, 2 hours there. It's all good.
Yeah, it's cool, and especially as DVC members, when you get to go a lot, it really is. You don't feel like you have to do everything. We've talked about that before, where you don't feel like you're rushing to do everything because you've done it. So, yeah. So, anything else you're doing with that? We're getting like really long on time, but I want to make sure we talk about your whole thing.
Yeah, no, I know, and yeah, there was a lot to talk about today, but no, I think that's about it. Like I said, I'll let you guys know how those special events go and how touring with a larger party works, because we're only doing it for one day, but I'm sure I'll see that difference, because my family there's only 3 of us, so I'm going to get a taste of how Damon does.
That's right.
Does a tour, right? So yeah, it should be interesting.
And look for Trevor wearing his welcome home pin in the parks. If you find him, he'll give you a pin. I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. He probably doesn't have any.
Actually, I do have a couple of welcome home pins. So yeah, if you do happen to find me, if I have some left, I would be willing to share. And I guess to make it a bit easier, I'll be the guy wearing the Gravity Falls baseball cap. So
there you go.
If you know Gravity Falls, you know what Dipper's hat looks like on Gravity Falls with the pine tree on it. That'll be me.
So I wouldn't be able to find you.
Well, you have to do some Googling.
I'd have to do some Googling. Okay, that's fair.
All right.
But yeah, so and by the way, we've gotten asked this before. At some point, we will have like some shirts and some hats and all that fun stuff. We will do that at some point. We got our 50th episode coming up in a month or two here, and we'll probably do some things like that for our 50th. So hang tight. At some point you'll be able to buy some stuff with our name on it if you really want to. So, and as Derek said, we've got some really great fans, so we know you guys will want to buy some stuff. So, well, okay. So let's talk about, and we're out of time here, so we got a couple more things on here that are mostly whatever stories, but there's now did you see that there's now a paid fireworks party for Top of the World Lounge? I know a lot of people were worried about this, thinking that Top of the World was going away, but it is not.
Yeah,
it is still there. That just DVC's a little slow to update the website with new dates. But I saw this event. It looks kind of cool. I feel like it's along the lines of, it's not a replacement, where you're basically kicking everybody out of that lounge and only having that. It's kind of, to me, like the dessert party that you're doing. It's guaranteed firework viewing, right?
Yeah, and that was my thought too, is, this is a premium package. This is for people that, they want to sit down, have a meal, and then they want to be able to watch the fireworks, and they don't want to chance it that, the lounge might be full, right? It's just making sure that there is that space for them, right?
Yeah, that's exactly what it is, and I think that's fine. I mean, everybody that listens to the show knows that we don't have a problem with premium events, because we've all done them, and they're cool, they're fun, and they're, in my experience, they have never interrupted me from, like, when I'm not part of the premium experience, I've never even noticed that the premium experience is going on. Yeah. So it's not, what I mean? It's like, it's not interrupting my trip one way or the other. So I don't care if they do them. They can do them all they want. But I'm glad that Top of the World is sticking around. I know there was a lot of chatter on the DVC groups worried about that this was going away, but I really don't think it is. So I think, you know, we're good. People have been in there in 2019. We're in good shape here.
Yep. So yeah, this might be something that I look at for our November trip. So.
Oh,
we'll
yeah,
see.
yeah, for sure. Yeah, you'll have to check that out.
Yep.
Because I think it would be, it seems like a neat experience. So I like this one, and I don't know if this is true that he accidentally gave it away, but did you see that?
I
Bob...
saw the headline about it, but I can't believe he would accidentally reveal the like.
You think he did it purposely? He could have. I mean, he didn't say whether he did or not.
Yeah, that's true. But I guess maybe people were expecting more fanfare for announcing the opening month.
Maybe, I don't know, but basically Iger in an interview said, you know, just kind of casually said that Star Wars Land in Disneyland would be opening in June. Mm-hmm. So yeah, which is interesting too, because the prevailing thought is that Hollywood Studios is about 6 months behind or so, and so if that's the case, then we're talking December really for the Star Wars Land in Hollywood Studios. So I don't know. I just thought that was interesting. It kind of seemed like he accidentally revealed it, and it kind of was presented that way online, but I don't know if he actually did accidentally unveil it. But
yeah, I guess the only thing about that is that him casually dropping that means that, you know, people will obviously like hotel booking and all that stuff is just going to go nuts around June.
Well,
I mean,
it had to have blown up already.
Yeah,
I have to assume as soon as that article came out that all of a sudden the phone lines at the reservation center and the website got very, very busy.
Yeah.
I would have to assume so. Well, and then plus free dining came out last week. So then, you know, the regular Disney World website crashed. So
yeah, that was
fun.
Well, I was trying to book fast passes for my friends too. So
of course, yeah. Thanks to free dining for that one.
Yeah. I thought that was a great day.
And we're going to save my rant on why DVC doesn't get free dining for another day, because every time free dining comes out, there's like 20 posts on all the groups. It's like, why doesn't DVC get free dining? There's a good reason for why. But we're going to talk about that another time because we've been rambling on forever today.
Yeah, yeah. Let's cut this off. The last thing we should probably talk about is the deputies investigating the theft of Buzzy, the animatronic from Cranium Command. It's not actually Buzzy that was stolen. It was his clothes, which...
I heard it was his clothes, and then later in another theft, the rest of him.
Oh, okay. I only heard the clothes, but either way, I mean, how would you haul out an animatronic? Like, you can't walk out the front door of Epcot.
No, this has got to be an inside job, right?
Yeah.
It's got to be somebody that works for Disney stole this. But for those that don't know, and those have not been Disney fans for a long time, the Wonders of Life Pavilion used to be a beautiful... golden dome that you could go into, which is you can go into it seasonally now, but there was a cool show there called Cranium Command, which if I can compare it to anything, it's the movie Inside Out, because I feel like it's basically the I don't know if it was inspired Inside Out later on, but it's kind of Inside Out, right?
Yeah, the like inside of someone's brain watching what they're doing and controlling it kind of thing, right?
And Buzzy was like kind of like the driver of this person. So Buzzy somehow got all of his clothes stolen, and then later on somehow got completely stolen. Probably after the people stole his clothes, they were like, well, we stole his clothes, maybe we can steal the rest of them. Because the report said that there was like what do you call it, hydraulic fluid everywhere, because I guess they just cut the lines really quick and ran.
Oh my gosh.
I know, I had to mention this because I just thought it was kind of funny. It's sad because it's a classic attraction, but it is also kind of funny.
Yeah.
So
I'm just imagining, like, you know, somebody running by Spaceship Earth and like with a trail of hydraulic fluid, like as if security couldn't. I don't know. How could you not notice?
That's what I want to know. Like, how did somebody sneak into the attraction, number one? Although, if you go on YouTube, there's lots of videos of people sneaking into those old attractions in Wonders of Life.
Yeah.
But I don't know how you could steal something like that.
So I was actually watching a documentary on not Wonders of Life, but actually Horizons. And
yeah.
Is
it about the guy that broke into it for like a while?
There was two of them that
I know what you're talking about.
They were taking pictures and stuff, but then I guess when the ride was getting close to closing down, not them, but other people were stealing stuff out of the ride. So they were like getting off the ride, taking things, and then
jumping back in the ride vehicle.
Yeah, because there wasn't the security on the ride like there is now. And I guess it's the same thing at Cranium Command, is that, yeah, you know, they don't have the cameras and the sensors and everything to detect the stuff. But still, even after all of that, you know, you still have to come back out into Epcot or into some space where, you know, you're going to see cast members and other people, and you're carrying a large robot with hydraulic fluid leaking out of it. Like,
it's so ridiculous. I don't know. I just had to bring that up because it's just so weird and funny, and it makes me sad. It makes me sad though too, because that's, you know, a thing I remember from my childhood. So, you know, whatever they end up doing with that someday. I mean, first of all, how much is that really worth on the black market? I can't imagine that much. Like, who's gonna buy it? First of all, it's just weird.
Maybe John Stamos is in the market for some new Disney paraphernalia.
Can you imagine if John Stamos got like somebody found out that he had that someday and like was like, where did you get this from, John Stamos?
It's like just in his living room.
Yeah, John Stamos is. If those out there that don't know, John Stamos is a huge Disney Parks fan. That is a real thing, that he loves Disney Parks. So anyway.
If you're listening, John Stamos, it's just a joke. You're still cool.
Yeah.
Okay?
And if you're listening, you're the coolest person on earth, and you should call us. And
we would love to interview you.
Yeah, we'll interview you all about this. Come on the show. Okay, so at this point, we're getting a little punchy because we've been talking for a while, because we're trying to talk directly to John Stamos. So let's go ahead and wrap this up.
We're sorry, everyone. This whole episode has just been loopy. So yeah, let's finish it.
Let's wrap this up. You know, because Damon would have bailed out by now if he would have been here today.
Yeah,
so.
Yeah. I guess we also, because we missed that episode, I blame that on why we're taking so long with this one, because we have a lot of pent up discussion that we haven't had. So.
That's true. And thank you, everybody, for being so cool about that. We wanted to take a break to spend time with our families. We've been doing this nonstop for 2 years almost. And every 2 weeks we have come out with an episode, never failed. And, you know, we just wanted to take a little break. So.
Yes. And it was wonderful, and we appreciate it. And now we're ready to come back and keep going. So let's talk about how you guys can send us more questions and stuff. So as usual, our email address is welcomehomepodcast@gmail.com. You know, more questions like we got for the DVC resale folks today. We love that kind of stuff. You know, if you have questions for us that we can ask John Stamos, you can send them there too. Sorry.
Oh my God.
And we also have our website, welcomehomepodcast.com. Someday something cool will happen with it. I don't know when, but you know, someday we'll do something with it.
Someday we'll pay attention to it and do something with it.
Yeah, I think, when the time is right.
2019, New Year's resolution, the website will be better.
Yeah, when the time is right, you will see something really cool. I don't know what, but... and yeah, again, you know, we love questions. We love the comments. If you guys want to hit us up, we're on Facebook at Welcome Home Podcast. You can see us on Twitter and Instagram. Twitter is Welcome Home Pod. Instagram is Welcome Home Pics. Really, those just post pictures that we post on Welcome Home Podcast. Actually, those you may want to, if you're subscribed to them, keep an eye out, because I do try to post pictures when I'm on my vacation. So hopefully you guys will see some stuff here while I'm down Disney World in the next couple of weeks. Also, if you have subscribed to us through iTunes or Google Play, we like reviews. We like reviews that actually say like things, not just, you know,
why you love us or why you hate us. Yeah,
like if it's like, you know, you talk too loud and my dog barked, you know, that's not useful to us. But we still like reviews though, because they do actually help with viewership on those platforms. So it helps it, you know, get out to more people. So I think that's about it.
So yeah, and don't forget to subscribe to Welcome Home Podcast so you can be reminded every time we release a new episode. Of course, you can find us, as Trevor mentioned, Apple Podcasts, Google Play Music, Google Podcasts, TuneIn, Stitcher, Spotify, just about any place you can find a podcast. You can find us, so check out just look for a podcast app if you don't have one, and you should be able to find us just by searching Welcome Home. And of course, just a reminder to our listeners, as always, Welcome Home Podcast is for entertainment only. We are not employed by the Walt Disney Company, and as such, any and all opinions we express on this show are our own. So please consult a DVC representative, a Disney representative, Disney cast member for more information about anything we talked about today, or call our good friends over at DVC Resale Market. Big thank you to DVC Resale Market for being on the show today. Really great timing with these new announcements that came out. Check out, talk to Derek, talk to Marissa, tell them that you heard them on the show today, and
I did.
Yeah, exactly, like Trevor did right on the show. Trevor put an offer on a contract on the show. That is not even a joke.
Yeah, that is my service to you guys, so that I'll tell you how it went when I get home from my trip.
There you go. Exactly. So, but please reach out to them. Like I said, they're super nice. They're really helpful. Really great company to work with. And if you want to get in here before that deadline, do what Trevor did and get in as soon as you can. So, join us next time for more Disney Parks discussion and, of course, more DVC talk. We hope to see you all real soon.
This is Skipper Albert Awol, the voice of the jungle, signing off from Welcome Home Podcast on the DVC.
We do a huddle when we hit a chair. How she can cuddle is no man's affair. I looked around from pole to pole, found her in a sugar bowl.